Hey y'all, welcome to TXC Tells All. How
Hi,
y'all doing?
hi, guys.
Today's Tuesday, right? How y'all doing this Tuesday?
Tuesday. Terrible. No, kidding. Not terrible Tuesday.
It's
Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday. Oh, okay. I thought you said Powerful Tuesday. I was like, okay, we going with that.
No, Taco Tuesday.
I was like, it is powerful. It is.
Check in our TXC Tells All crew. Check it in the chat box for all those who are joining in. We're going to talk about a popular topic that we haven't talked about in a while. I was hitting y'all with these student loan videos for a while, and then it dried up, but we're coming close. So we figured we'd pop on here today to talk about some changes that are happening that are definitely going to affect you. So,
Yeah, student loans is always a big deal for me. We'll talk about this a little later on. I have some information for y'all on like the top states that have the biggest student loan debt and things like that. And I was looking at those numbers like those are not even touching mine. I mean, so student loan is always on the brain for me. As y'all know, we have had the student loan pause since the pandemic, March 2020, for a lot of us, in response to the pandemic.
oh,
Our
wait, before, don't forget, because some people jump in here. If y'all not part of the TXC Tells All crew, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Hit
yeah,
the thumbs up button, because what it does is it pushes it out to the YouTube world so that all the information you're giving us that you always say you like, it pushes it out to other people. So I know sometimes people will come on here and they're like, great stuff, but then you don't hit the thumbs up button. So hit the thumbs up button if you're watching, because we're going to deliver some good, relevant information to you. So sorry, interrupt, Chase. Go
oh
ahead.
yeah, no, you're good. And I'll give people a couple more minutes to come in. I see some people joining in with us. So yeah, definitely hit that subscribe button. We post new videos every single week. And we are trying to do these lives at least once a month where we can engage with our subscribers, with new viewers, and kind of talk with y'all. Because we're bringing information to you, but obviously y'all have information to share too. We
And
always like to
Instagram.
give it.
Follow us on Instagram.
Yes, TXC Tells All on Instagram. Make sure you follow us there too. We put different information on there, so you might get something different from there. Kind of get to know us a little bit more personally, see what we're doing out here in these streets. So make sure you follow us on
Yes, a little
Instagram.
more personal. Mm-hmm.
Yes, make sure you follow us there too.
Check
TXC
in
Tells
if you're hopping in the chat. I mean, if you're hopping on the live now, check in so we can shout you out.
Hey,
Hey,
Vivian. Good to see you back here with us. Yep. So we're talking about them student loans today. A lot of us, most of the people I know are affected in student loans one way or the other, whether it's you personally or your children or something. It's affecting everybody. So we know we're doing a countdown to this allegedly the student loan pause is ending. If y'all have been following it, you know they have been extending it since 2020. So March 2020, when the CARES Act initially came out, they said it was probably going to be for about 6 months. Obviously, at that time, nobody knew how long the pandemic was going to last and that, it was going to have such devastating effects, in all different arenas, obviously people's health, but also people's finances. So they kept extending it. And now here we are 3 years later, a little bit over 3 years later. And the last, well, yeah, almost 3 years. The last extension is going to be ending August 31st. So that's 50 days away, y'all. 50 days away from today. The student loan
are y'all
part.
prepared? Put in the chat if y'all prepared or not.
I'm not. Let me put in the chat. I'm not prepared. No.
Drop in the chat if you're prepared to begin payments September 1st. Drop it in the chat. If you're not, drop that in the chat too. Say not me.
Not me. Not me. I'm not prepared. I have been living my best life out here. And just for transparency, my student loan payment was a mortgage. Like, I have a student loan payment that didn't qualify for this pause that I've still been paying. But my main student loan payment was a mortgage. Like, no joke, it was a mortgage. So to have that eliminated off of my bills really, really made a difference in my life. Now we'll talk about what did we use our student loan pause for. So if you had a student loan pause, meaning you didn't have to pay your student loans these past, you're right, Larita, 2 years. What have you been doing with that money? It might not be a mortgage payment, but it's still money that you get to keep in your pocket. Tell us what you've been doing. Comment in the chat if you've been doing some good stuff with that money, saving. I'll tell you what I've been doing. Oh, Vivian said hers has been forgiven. Yes, we love to hear those stories. I know you've been on here before with us, Vivian, mentioned that yours has been forgiven. That is great. I wish, but that's not going to be my story unless some real big changes come about.
Yeah,
But
never say never. So
yeah, you never know. You never know what this government is gonna do.
Because I have some updates for those of y'all tuning in. Don't hop off yet, because I got some updates from my service at Fedloan and from the Department of Education that actually worked in my favor. So if you're like me, you might have some good news coming down the pipeline too. So stay tuned for that later on in the live. But
yeah, definitely want to know about that. So my pause, I did have to take care of a family member who was sick, so I used, some of my disposable income to do that, which was helpful. But also I've been traveling. So if y'all haven't checked out our TXC Tells All other videos, you'll see my travel vlogs on there. Traveling is really important for me. It's like my therapy. I need it in order to continue working, and having a student loan pause really let me be able to travel more. Just travel to different countries, visit family, all that. So that freed up income for me to be able to do that and visit resorts that I probably wouldn't have been able to afford had I had to pay that student loan mortgage payment. So honestly, the pause has helped me do that. In the beginning, I think I initially was focusing on saving money, but then, kind of as time passed by, I was like, you know what? I'm about to enjoy some of this time with the student loan pause and do some traveling. So that's what I did. Larita, what did you use the pause for?
I was living vicariously through you. No, I'm kidding. No, I did. I know some people, and I want to make sure we're not insensitive to some of our viewers who they actually needed the pause because they didn't have it. It wasn't really extra money for them. So I want to make sure we're sensitive to that. They needed the pause because otherwise they may have been in default otherwise for being able to pay it. So that's some people's real reality. And fortunate for us, we had the money to pay. Did we want to have to pay it with such high interest rates and knowing that most of it was going to interest? No, but thankfully we had the resources to pay it. Even this is still a broken system, but hopefully they can get to a system where, the interest is not getting eaten up with everybody's payment. So during the pause, what did I do? I didn't do things as fun, but it still was, I found it a blessing. I paid down some stuff that I need to pay. I had some extra money to do some stuff around the house, repairs around the house, and my son is starting private school soon, so it will allow me to be able to save up for that to finance his education, and also put away money so that he doesn't have this student loan issue that I'm facing with, even for not just undergrad, but if he decides to go to graduate school, to think about those things as he grows up. So it did allow me to have that money to divert in another direction. It wasn't necessarily fun money, but it was a much needed break so that I could do some other needed things. So I was grateful for it. I'm still grateful for it. And also, as I'll talk about later, then these payments, these non-payments that I've been having have been counted towards, I'm on the public service loan forgiveness track, counted towards my ultimate 120 payments before it gets forgiven. So I'm grateful for that too, that I've had 28 free months of payments that are going towards my ultimate 120 goal. So.
Yeah, that's definitely awesome. And good point on, people who really couldn't afford to pay. Part of the CARES Act was also stopping them from collecting from people who had already defaulted. So people who were already in trouble, had already defaulted on their loans, also benefited from the CARES Act because they no longer were being targeted for collection. So,
and it was interest free. I know some people use the time to pay down their principal for real because, like I said, a lot of the money goes towards your interest. It's interest free right now. If you choose to pay, you can, and you're not eligible for any current forgiveness program, you could take advantage of the interest free and throwing all the money at the principal so that it can get paid off. So let me know. Let us know in the comments, in the chat box, what did you do with your last 28 months of no payments, no required payments? These are all for federally backed loans, not for the privately backed loans. But what did you do with your 28 months of not having required payments? Sometimes for some people it came at just the right time. What did you do with it? Did you travel like Tracy? Did you have it diverted to another need? Let us know in the chat box.
Hey,
Sugar Curl
here. Sugar Curl Salon is on here. Hey, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. So, so why should they extend it again? Let's talk about that as people join in. Dr. Sev says she paid down a lot of my principal. She paid down a lot of her principal during the pause. And I know a lot of people who did that. They took advantage of pushing that amount down while they can, while interest is not accruing and while payments aren't due. So that's definitely a smart way to get your loans down. For me personally, I have 6-figure loans. My loans are really high at this point, and I'm really just waiting this out to see, honestly, to see what's going to happen. I am on income-driven repayment, so if you haven't checked out our other videos and one of our other student loan videos, check out our playlist for that, because I talk about my student loans being serviced by Nelnet and being on income-driven repayment plan that goes for 25 years, and then you have the opportunity to have your loans basically forgiven with some ramifications, but at the end of those 25 years. So paying down for me, just, the reality is my student loans are really high, but if you can feel like you can get a handle on your amount by using this time wisely, I think that's a great thing to be able to do. But so why should they extend it again? So the obvious reason is, as we can look around, inflation is crazy. Everybody can see, no matter what state you live in, you can see prices going up just for the basic cost of living. Rent is going up, the price of homes are up, gas. Obviously, y'all all see these $4 gas prices, even though I saw $3.98 this weekend at Sam's, just saying. But that's still extremely high.
That's in Houston, y'all. If y'all trying to look for that, we in Houston. So if it's y'all East Coast, y'all probably not gonna see this.
I'm not gonna see a 3. I was just happy to see a 3, but at the beginning of the gas price. But anyway, inflation is really high. Biden has talked about inflation, and even though the economy supposedly has recovered some from the start of the 2020 pandemic, inflation is up and salaries aren't going up. So, people are paying more money to live, but their salaries are staying the same. So the government has recognized that as a reason why, or something they would take into consideration to extend the pause on student loans again. Another thing is they said they would give us ample notice. So I was reading an article by Forbes today talking about whether or not Biden was going to extend the pause, and they were talking about, they always said they would give people ample notice before they stopped the pause so that people could get ready to start making those payments again. Is 50 days ample notice? I mean, today is 50 days, that's 7 weeks from now. I really don't think that's a long time. So if they were going to restart, I think they would have started to give people a heads up already, even in the past times where they have said that they were not going to stop the pause. They started sending out mass communications through your loan servicer, just different communications as to what is coming. I went on Nelnet yesterday. They did have, on the website, that the pause may be ending August 31st. But other than that, there was no other information. So I think because the government said they were going to give ample notice and they haven't said anything yet, we're probably looking at another pause. I hope so.
What y'all think? Put it in the chat box. Do y'all think that we're going to get another pause, or are y'all prepared to start on September 1st? I think I'm in agreement with Tracy, just based on the other factors that I've taken in consideration before that. I think that we're going to have another pause just because, like I said, September 1st is right around the corner. That they haven't sent it. I have a loan servicer with Fedloans. I actually just got an email that it was changed to Mohela, Mohela. But it will be changing soon. But in the meantime, that's not enough notice for people to recertify, especially if you're income-based repayment plan. They have to have enough time to process what your income is so that they can set what your payment is. So if we're talking right now, we're on July 12th, and we're talking about restarting September 1st. I don't think that's enough time for them to process everybody's request for income-based repayment. So I think we're going to have another pause. Hey, good morning, Mrs. Robinson. I think we get another pause too. Miss Robinson, did you submit your form? I'm going to get on you.
Hey, no. We got to make sure you're good, Miss Robinson. We got to make sure you got your form.
Get your free money.
Dr. says I don't qualify for any of the forgiveness programs. Me too. My only option is paying for 20 years, then getting the balance forgiven. Hopefully they continue with the tax break on the forgiven portion. Same. So I'm in the same boat. Dr. said, my only hope is income-driven repayment program, paying on it, and for the next 20 years. And I say I'll be here for 20 years unless things change like we're talking about. So I'm in the same boat. Miss Robinson said this week. Okay, we got to check back.
As soon as you submit it, wouldn't it be funny if they say, "Oh, you're forgiven"? You I could have did this months ago. Right, but that's still gonna be a testimony. Make sure you come back here and give us your testimony when yours are forgiven, because I'm pretty sure, and we've been talking about it for a while. If you guys have been following, and we have a whole student loan playlist. So if you're new to the channel, check out our whole student loan playlist. I talk about just regular student loans, but also if you're eligible to get it forgiven through the public service loan forgiveness or the temporary extended public service loan forgiveness. If you work in nonprofit or government sector, that could be federal, state, local, you're eligible to have your loans forgiven after 10 years of payment. So don't miss out on that. If you're new to the channel, I try to give relevant information, try to walk you through. I'm going through the same process. And I'm actually very close to having it forgiven based on a new requirement they put out a couple of months ago, where I sent in another form just to make sure that I'm up to speed. So I want to make sure that nobody's missing out on free money. Nobody's missing out on perhaps they could have this out of their hair because they could get their loans forgiven. So check out that playlist if you haven't already done that.
Yes, and she gives like step by step, walk you through. It's not like overview. No, she's really going through it now. So I really recommend, if you are going through the PSLF program, you definitely check out the rest of the videos on the YouTube channel that Larita has put out, because she's really like telling you, she's giving you the game. So I know if I was qualified for that, I would definitely be watching that so that I could find out about that. Other thing is, November midterm elections are coming up, y'all. So I think that the government wants to make us happy, make us happy, because we are the ones going to the polls. So I think, of course, the people with student loans make up a big population of voters. And that's another reason, that's another incentive, other than that they should care about their constituents not suffering. But outside of that, just looking at it from a advantageous perspective for our politicians, November midterm elections are coming up. So the buzz is that might be another reason for them to push another student loan pause for, an extended period of time, maybe past midterm elections, and then reevaluate at that point.
I think though too, I'm gonna share the screen so you guys can see. I think that because they just recently announced a new change in the student loan interest rate, like they actually increased the student loan interest rate. Let me see if you guys can see the full thing. But as of July 1st, the student loan interest rates have increased. And this is only for new loans. So these are people that are getting new loans, going to college, going to law school for the first time. This is what your new loan rates will be at, which is higher than it previously was. So it shows you kind of the breakdown. Like starting July 1st, it's going to be 4.99% for undergrad direct subsidized loan, undergrad direct subsidized unsubsidized loan, graduate or professional direct unsubsidized loans will be 6.5%, and direct plus loans are 7.5%, which is different from previous years. If you see below, the line below says July 1st of 2021, it was 3.73%, and then 5.28 and 6.28 for the other one. So they have increased for people who are going to be new borrowers. If you are starting grad school, if you're starting undergrad, this will be applicable to you. So I think to couch the fact that they're actually making student loan interest rates have increased, I think that they're going to probably have to do something on the back end to kind of like, because it's kind of tone deaf to do that, right? Like when people are already complaining about interest rates and where their money is going, to have the interest rates go up. Granted, it's based off a lot of factors, right? How the market is going. But I think to combat the fact that interest rates are going up, they probably are going to do something else in the future to kind of say, okay, we're hearing your concerns. But keep that in mind if you're somebody if you're going into your second year, or, you're still in school, these loans will be at different interest rates than they previously were before. So keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so the U.S. Department of Education actually submitted some new regulations just July 6, 2020. Well, proposed regulations. So they're not set in stone. They're still working on them. July 6, 2022. And part of those regulations are about, of course, the loan forgiveness that we're talking about, interest rates and all of that, but also that students are going to be able to bring claims against colleges that lied to them, deceptive practices and things like that, because there is a tradition in American education that students are, pushed out different propaganda. Come to this college, you'll graduate and you'll be able to make this amount of money, or this is what we offer. Just different things that weren't necessarily true. And students took out loans based on those representations. Now, when you take out student loans, in that fine print that nobody reads is usually an arbitration clause that limits the type of claim that you can bring, the time limit to bring that claim, and whether or not you have to bring that claim as an individual or if you can bring that claim as a class action. If you've seen any type of class actions, you see the commercials all the time where you a victim of, this type of we see it with medical procedures more often, like surgical mesh. We see that one all the time. And you can bring this class action. And obviously, a lot of people who are affected, it's easy to hop in on those type of class actions. But historically, with student loan issues, deceptive practices with colleges or any of that, the arbitration clauses in their documents that they can bring class action. So the U.S. Department of Education is now recognizing that, and as part of the proposed regulations, they're saying we're going to make it easier for students to be able to bring claims if their colleges lied to them, for students to actually be able to bring class actions. So I'm gonna try to search. So that's coming up. It was just proposed regulations just came out July 6th. They're trying to get them finalized by November. Again, midterm election. So all of that, you see how the government operates. So they're trying to get that solidified by November, and then hopefully have it enacted with final regulations by July 1st of 2023. So that's one thing that's coming. But there has been some success. My screen shared. I always struggle with this. I'm gonna share my screen with y'all in a second to talk about what Miguel Cardona, the head of the Department of Education, was talking about with one student loan class action where they were actually able to get $6 billion in debt canceled for some 200,000 people who had joined in on this class action. So I'll share my screen in a minute when I get my life together. But hopefully,
my doctor is on that.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Well, then I guess, Dr. Steph, you might be. I don't know. That might work in your favor then. If the college where she got her doctorate at.
Oh, I didn't see the what did it
Ain't
say?
that free dad?
Hey, Dad, free dad.
Biden ain't doing another extension. Oh, yes, I'm with you on another extension.
I'll take it though. I'll take that. What was Dr. Seth saying? Her school?
The college where she got her doctorate is on the list.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that might be another way outside of the, income-driven repayment plan that you might be able to get some relief. Debt-free dad said schools increase tuition because students can borrow more, damn near any amount they want. I'd increase my tuition too. I know folks just going to get more loans to pay. Yeah.
I mean, that's why I think people need to be better informed about how, yes, you can borrow a bit, but should you kind of thing? Like, and have people think about it a little bit harder. I know even going into law school, I borrowed money and had living expenses money from the loans and stuff, especially at graduate school level. And probably should have thought a little bit harder about, like, just because I can doesn't mean I should. And also to compare, granted, it worked out in regards to like what was my return on investment as far as being to land a job and have a successful career. But still, some people are not in that position and they're taking out six figures and then coming out with making $40,000 a year. Like, you're gonna take forever to pay back six figures if you're making $40,000 a year. So being able to understand the investment you're making, it is an investment. Like, just like you evaluate any kind of investment, is it worth it? How much am I going to be taking out? How much am I have the possibility of making when I get out? So to keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's definitely a business decision, and especially for, like, I know I went straight through. I learned this term the other day. I'm a KJD, kindergarten to JD. So I didn't take any breaks. Like, you went from kindergarten to JD straight through. So I didn't really have any real world experience when I was taking out all these loans. I had little jobs. I always worked, but just little part-time jobs that I had when in school. I didn't take a break between college and law school and like actually have some real world experience, get a real job. I went straight to law school. So I'm taking out these loans pretty much blindly without that much financial literacy about what I was really doing, what I'm signing my name to. So I think even colleges, especially for their students who are going to get second level degrees, JDs, masters, doctorates, anything like that, where you're going to pile on more student loans if you don't have family that can afford to pay for it, or you can afford to pay for it yourself. Some education, like, hey, for those of you going on a higher education, let's talk about student loans. Let's have a course on, like they do those freshman introductory courses for college. Let's do some type of exit courses or even introductory courses when you get into school, so that as you move along through each year of your higher education, what you're doing with these student loans. Because a lot of students don't know. They've never had a real job. They don't really understand interest. They don't know what they're signing their name to.
Yes, I agree. And I think some schools or some states are actually putting in those kind of financial literacy classes. So it's starting to come around. I don't know if Texas is there yet, but I know there are several states that do have that on the books as far as the curriculum now, which is important. And it's a matter of like, it wasn't proactive, it was reactive to like, oh, we're not teaching these kids enough, so let's do this in response to it. So I mean, we take it how we can get it. Good morning, Ms. Robinson was talking about nothing wrong with trade schools and how electrician and plumbers make pretty decent salaries. Even out here in Texas, HVAC technicians, welders, making six figures out here. Of course, we're in Houston, Texas, where we've had a drought for the last 3 weeks and 100+ degree temperature weather. If you don't have an air conditioning that's working, you're going to depend on HVAC technicians. They are going to be in demand. That's another thing, like getting a degree in something that's in demand, not just like a useless degree. Having some education in the in-demand field, which is HVAC, and they're making decent money. Granted, you're being in the hot attics, but you're making decent money. So yes, considering those things, because you don't have to go into as much debt for those kind of programs. I think there is some debt involved, but not nearly as much as you would have if you went a different route. So thank you, good morning, Ms. Robinson, for pointing that out as a possible option for some people. Like, that's realistic. Everybody's not going to go into the same field.
Yeah,
and it's good that everybody's not the same, right? We need different kind of people to do different kind of things. So that's important.
Definitely.
Did you get the
no, I'm struggling.
Oh, did you hit the share at the bottom?
Yes, I did, but then just leave me here in my corner.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to make sure I didn't skip anybody's comments.
Yeah, but definitely good point on the trade schools. I mean, even IT, General Assembly is one course that I know of that you do have to pay. It is like 3 to 6 month courses, but it's a fraction of what you would pay, for a college, full-blown college education for some of these universities, what they're charging. And even, educating students on different options. I know a lot of students now who go to community college for 2 years first, and then they transfer over to their 4-year universities just to save money, to take advantage. I know here in Houston, if you go to a Houston public school, you can actually go to a community college for free. They have that program here. So if you go to Houston Community College or Lone Star, that's those 2 community colleges here in the area, you can actually go to there for free for 2 years and then move on to your 4-year university. So, in addition to hoping that the government steps up and alleviates some of the student loan debt, we also have, to educate the ones coming behind us about different options so they don't make the same, mistakes we did.
Right. And but I wanted to make sure I told you stay tuned. I was going to give you an update about the student loan forgiveness portion of it and the temporary extended portion. So if last year that you had until October of 2022 to submit your public service loan forgiveness form, the temporary extended means that they were going to count payments that they previously didn't count as payments. We had Kiki as a guest on here who actually took advantage of that because previous payments that didn't count before for her counted, and she got her loans forgiven. She got $40,000 in loans forgiven. I know sometimes the comment section asks me, do I know anybody personally? And I do. We had her. So check out that video if you haven't already. And also, recently they said if you were previously requested forbearance because something came up and your student loan servicer basically let you get a forbearance for over a year, but they perhaps could have put you just on a different payment plan. Now what they're doing is counting those non-payments, as long as it was at least 12 months or longer, those non-payments as payments towards your ultimate 120 days forgiveness. So I mentioned before that I regretted when I got out of law school, I was clerking and I didn't pay while I was clerking because I'm like, I don't got money for this and to live in DC. And I went on forbearance for the time of my clerkship, which was a little over a year. Those non-payments now are counting towards my 120 payments. So I went back, I'm freezing a little bit. I went back, got my old employer to fill out my form. So now I have that plus the current job that I've been at for the last 9 years towards my loan forgiveness. So that actually is going to put me closer to my goal. So if that was your case for anybody else, then y'all need to submit your forms because they're doing so many things that perhaps are getting people closer to that finish line. Mm-hmm. Y'all don't have no excuse. So I hope to come back on here and tell you when I get closer to the goal, but I'm definitely closer than I was before because that's about 18 payments closer to my goal. So keep that in mind.
Yep, definitely good point. You know, everything that you can do. That's why I said if you haven't checked out Larita's videos on the PSLF program, make sure you go check those out because she gives really good information like that. You can have the video up playing while you pull your form off online and get your stuff done. So make sure you check that out. Debt Free Dad says society does not put prestige on blue collar jobs. Well, not when I was growing up. I never heard if you work hard, you can be a plumber or mechanic, and these are good jobs. That's true. Lawyer, doctor, astronaut. I always say, like, you know, we push certain professions as allegedly, you know, these are the ones you want to go after. But the practical side of it is if unless you can pay for that out of pocket, which most people can't, you're entering into a lot of debt. And is that really a good business decision? I mean, it might be if you really want that profession, you might decide it's worth it, but you really do need to, like Larry said, weigh it like you're making a business decision. How much are you putting into it? How much you're going to get back out? Because all lawyers don't make the same amount of money. I mean, you really have to look at the type of lawyer that you're going to be and what jobs are going to be available for you, at least in our profession. And that I'm sure that goes for other professions where you have to get a secondary degree, like a law degree. So that's expensive.
Right. Dr. Seth said community college in Georgia isn't free. So it does vary from state to state. I know in New Jersey, they did have some community colleges becoming free. So I definitely think it comes to the area you're in. Sean C. Hi, Sean C. Does forbearance count as payment outside of pay? I saw a change. Yeah, I guess maybe you asked the question before I talked about it, but yes. If you were on it, the forbearance had to be for at least 12 months because it basically said that the person who you talked to on the phone perhaps should have convinced you to get just a different payment plan instead of making you push it out. So if it was 12 months or longer, then it would count as those non-payments under the forbearance would count towards the forgiveness. And that was in the context of the PSLF, and I think too for if you were on income-based repayment, it would count.
Yes, it counts as income in the income-driven or income-based repayment programs too. If it's 12 months or more, so that it did count.
So they're still working backwards on that as far as like making sure it counts. But if I always say if you're switched, especially right now while they're doing so many things, if they get any kind of notification from them, any kind of correspondence, save it to your computer or print it out so that you have documentation because these are human beings. They make mistakes and you want to at least have some evidence of like, no, this is the payment count that I'm already at. So y'all can't try to change it and say I have less than what I was supposed to have. Always have your documentation. And that comes from just like the lawyer and me. So keep that in mind.
Log in to I know I have Nelnet. What I do is I email myself every time I get off the phone with the servicer or I go online and I see something, I just email it to myself. So I have like an ongoing email string of information. So, because, months and months will pass by and sometimes I won't even remember what they said. So I just kind of email myself a note based on the conversation, what was said, what's my date to pay, any information that I'm given, I just send an email to myself so I have that and I can go back and say, no, on July 6th at 2:22 p.m., I talked to so-and-so and they said this and here's where I got that information from. So if you need to keep it somewhere, because I know I'm not good with like keeping paper, I'll lose it. So I just email myself so that I have that information all in one place.
And you can actually get them to email you too, because if it comes from somebody like at the place, then they can't dispute. Like this came from your people. Sometimes they're hesitant to do so because they know could perhaps be used against them later, but kind of push for it. Like I need something in writing because how anybody gonna believe me that you told me this later? Like, can you send me something in writing? And usually they will send you something, just the documentation that you talked to them, or some kind of written correspondence. So. Good morning, Ms. Rouse. Yeah, so go around to all your previous employers. You have several of them, and you don't even have to go around because literally the place that I worked at that I went back and asked them to fill out was 11 years ago. I just called on the phone to HR. I sent them a PDF copy of the first page that you had to fill out yourself, and then the second page is what the employer fills out for the public service loan forgiveness. I PDF'd it to them, sent it to HR. She filled it out and emailed it back to me in less than 10 minutes. I don't have to run around nowhere. I just had to call. So save yourself, because my place is in D.C. I wasn't going back to D.C. So pick the phone and call, found the correct person in HR.
Hi, Judy. Thanks for joining in. Good to see you. Larita, I have to point out that crayon. Give your son back his crayon.
Huh? What?
Give your son back his
It's not a crayon.
Like an orange Crayola. Okay, my bad. I was trying to blast it. Like, give me some back his crayon. Okay, that was a side note.
Hey, Judy, thanks. But yeah, so we're going to try to end it now. If you guys have any other questions before we sign off, speak now or forever hold your peace. We wanted to hop on here and make sure we got you the student loan information. And we'll probably see something coming up in the near future too that will be helpful to you. So we'll hop on there either as a short. Follow us on Instagram. We put some information on their Instagram as well. So make sure you follow us at TXC Tells All.
Yep, this 50-day countdown. So hopefully in 49 days or less, we'll be coming on here celebrating that we're not.
Like, no, we get some more time. So yes. But thank you guys for coming in today and engaging in the chat box. We appreciate all our viewers, especially the ones that we consistently see in our lives. So we appreciate y'all. Oh, thank you. We got a super sticker from Debt Free Dad. Appreciate you.
We appreciate you.
So if anybody else have any? Dr. Sev, I have an Excel spreadsheet with screenshots and a file with all correspondences. I don't trust those services. So I go Google her with an interview from a former student that confirmed. Yes, very good. I'm glad Dr. Sev take a page from her book. If you guys are trying to, it's storming here. We finally got some rain.
I don't have any rain over here yet.
Oh, it's storming. It's like thundering and lightning and raining. So anyway, the drought is ended on my end. It'll come down to Tracy's a little bit later, I guess. But thank you all for joining in. Thank you, super thank you to Debt Free Dad for the super sticker.
Yes, thank you.
I'm glad you found it helpful. Good morning, Ms. Robinson. So I hope to hear some good reports from everybody next time we see you.
Take care, y'all.
Thank you guys. See you next time.
All right, see y'all.